In an exclusive interview with SABC News, a senior reporter Chriselda Lewis, Beverly Stock, the mother of a slain DJ Warras, believes her son was lured to his death. Warrick Stock, known as DJ Warras, was gunned down outside the hijacked Zambezi building in December last year. Accused Victor Majola, who is alleged to have been involved in the assassination, will know if he will be granted bail on January 26. The family believes that Warras was betrayed by someone close to him.
I want to start off by talking about the childhood memories that you have of your son and when you got to know about his love for music.
Warrick was the first boy child in our family. We are 4 sisters. I have 3 sisters, and my sisters all had daughters. So when Warrick came, you can just imagine the excitement. He gave my dad a whole new lease on life. My dad was 60 and had just retired. And here came this little baby boy. I thought he was perfect. I don't know what anyone else thought. And Warrick had a very charmed upbringing. Life in rural South Africa is so different to city life. So, you know, he had my father as a role model, who was a retired school principal. So I would say he was a very grounded child and very happy. That's one thing, Chriselda, that I take comfort in the fact of thinking back to just how happy Warrick was as a child. You know, a little boy surrounded by doting grandparents, his dogs, whom he loved, the gardener, the domestic, which is where he learned to speak fluent Zulu. I'm sure you're all aware of just what a good grasp he had of the language. And of course, he then, you know, came to Johannesburg. And then what he does, I went to visit my sister in London, and that was back in early, say, 2006, 2007, I can't quite recall. So I didn't have roaming. And in the 2 weeks I was away, Warrick had left Pastel and decided that he wants to join YFM and be a DJ. And I think that was my first bout of chest pains pertaining to Warrick. I was like, is that even a job? A DJ? But that's where his passion lay. I even, you know, some nights got up and actually listened to his insert to hear, you know, what it came across just so easily on radio, unscripted. You know, as his friends spoke about him at the memorial, this whirlwind who would arrive unprepared, everyone else who worked with him going into major panic, and he would just walk in and ace it.
And all of this, and I deliberately started our interview there, Ms. Stock, on the basis that the words that were shared about DJ Warras, Warrick, were words of someone who really knew what he was doing, had a passion for what he was doing, had a passion for everyone, easy to get along with, made everyone feel special. And unfortunately, on the 16th of December last year, that was robbed from you as a family and robbed from a nation that really adored him. Where were you when you heard what happened?
I was at the Killarney Mall at the ATM drawing money when I got a phone call from his then long-term partner. And normally I wouldn't take a phone call when I'm at the ATM, the mall is busy, but I just knew she would never call me unless it was something urgent. So I took the call, And she just spoke in a normal voice, because at that time she had just been informed that Warrick had been shot and that an ambulance was en route, that he was at Zambezi building. At that point in time, I had no idea where Zambezi building even was. Got to bear in mind, Warrick didn't share much of that aspect of his life with me as his mother. And I immediately decided to call Nicole, because I knew Nicole knows where the building is, and made my way to my car. And it was less than 5 minutes. You know, time stood still on the day, when I got another phone call from one of his business partners, and he just said to me, "I'm so sorry. Warrick was shot in the head." And he would not get the words out, and I can understand, because I was screaming, I was hysterical. I said, "Please tell me if my child is dead." And he just kept saying, "I'm sorry." I just knew. There's no words to describe. I think other moms who've lost their children in such a tragic manner will be able to relate. It's a life-altering moment. It truly is. And my first instinct is to be with my child. I was screaming to this guy on the phone, "Please, I want to be there. I want to be with Warrick." And they said, you actually can't come here. Yes, it's that maternal instinct. Your mind and your body, I think, automatically goes back to the day you gave birth to this person and held him in your arms, and you want to protect them again and hold their hand. That's going to live with me forever, that I was not there when Warrick actually drew his last breath. And then on Tuesday, at the bail hearing, when we broke for lunch, I went up with my nieces to Zambezi house with the driver. And, you've probably been there.
I was the first journalist on this.
Yes. So to be shown where he was when he was first shot, and the distance that he ran before he collapsed in front of Zambezi house, that was my undoing. Because I know he was not
killed. That part that broke you?
That absolutely broke me. There's no coming back from that. It's just too painful, because I just kept thinking, what was going through Warrick's mind at the time? Did he think of his children who've now been left without a father, or did he think of his mom? That's really difficult. It's just that I haven't had time to process it, because you just know how busy we've been ever since. Yeah.
Immediately, Ms. Stock, there would then be a whole lot of speculation about what happened, yes. But because it was at the Zambezi building, the investigators were able to put 2 and 2 together quite fast. Yes. Warrick's life was clearly at threat being at that Zambezi building, because he had previously taken out protection orders as well, which is now public knowledge. Did he ever share those fears with you, or share fears that his life may be at threat?
Absolutely not. He didn't. And, Chriselda, grief has so many stages. I think I'm now entering into the anger stage, because for me as his mom, I don't want Warrick to be portrayed, not that I'm saying you guys are portraying him, but there's a perception that he dabbled in a field where he was out of his depth, as in security, and particularly the hijacked building, Zambezi house. But I know that for many years, since Warrick left 5FM, he was out of the field where he excelled. There's many people, if you're to ask them now, between 2018 and Warrick starting the podcast and the show last year, what was he doing with his life? They wouldn't be able to tell you. Because, as Marvin said at the memorial, and that has stuck with me, Warrick was puzzling. He was puzzling. He was the sole provider, financial provider for all three boys. Therefore, I'm assuming that when this security opportunity presented itself, he took it because it would bring money in. Yeah. So that is my take on it. No, he did not share with me just how dangerous it was.
Ms. Stock, we had the arrest of one individual.
Yes.
And I ask you about this because you've been sitting in court. And this is the very first time that we got to hear of the details from the investigating officer, where he speaks about allegations of the current accused staking out the place for 45 minutes together with two other men, one who is alleged to have been the hitman. On the cell phone of the accused currently before court, your son's personal documents relating to his car, which has home address and that of his partner being found on that.
Yes.
Listening to those details and even pictures of your late son on his phone, listening to those details in court, how did that make you feel? That was the first glance from the investigating officer that everyone got to know what exactly police were investigating and what they say is the possible link between the current accused before court and the incident that took place on the 16th of December.
I actually felt fear because I thought in retrospect, if they had all that information, what if, I'll divert here, on the weekend before, Warrick and the children had come to me very often, you know, always looking for meals, home-cooked meals. And the Sunday, the 14th, he had come to me in the evening. It could have been between 6 and 8 o'clock. The what ifs. What if they had decided to strike at my place or when Warrick was at home with the children? That is a real possibility that it could have happened at any time or place, not just at Zambezi on that morning of the 16th. And that is, it's scary. It's really scary. I think we can all agree there's no reason for you or me or anyone to have somebody else's personal information sent to you on your mobile. There has to be a valid reason for that. And the sequence of events, the fact that on the 12th of December, the protection orders, that hearing was at, I think, the very same magistrate's court. Threats were allegedly made to Warrick on the 12th of December. And then 4 days later, he dies in a hail of bullets. It's just too much of a coincidence. It's just too much of a coincidence. I fear for his partner. I'm no legal eagle, but I do think that the investigating officer was put in a position whereby, because this dragged on for 4 days, he then had to share some sensitive information which could have really rather come out at the trial stage.
Ms. Stock, in your quest for justice for your son, everyone wants to know who the mastermind is behind this.
Yes.
Who gave the hit? Who gave the hit that day to say that Warras needs to be killed? Is that what you wish for as a family as well?
I do, for the sake of the children. For me personally, it's not going to bring Warrick back. Somehow or the other, I do think that he was betrayed. This is, as I said to you, it goes much deeper. And even if I can find out that he was betrayed by somebody close to him, close to both of us, for me it's neither here nor there. It really is neither. It's not going to change how he met his fate.
Who do you think could have betrayed your son?
I have absolutely no idea. You know what? He was involved with such a wide spectrum of friends and business associates. I don't know half of them. So what is happening now is we all just saying that the accused, together with his co-conspirators, decided that Warrick was a threat to them. It could be anybody. I think it was a very, very professional, well-organized hit. And the fact that the shooter is still out there, hopefully still alive, and will be brought back to answer questions, might provide some clarity. Yep.
If you had the opportunity to, because the shooter has not been found,
Yes.
because what we heard in court was this is someone who pointed out Warrick to say this is the guy.
Yes.
And then I guess from what we know, the other two individuals had to go and carry out the job.
Yes.
That's what we know from what we heard in court proceedings. Yes. What would you want to say as a mother? What did they rob you of?
They robbed me of not only as an only child and a son, but because I don't have a husband, you know. So Warrick and I bounced everything personal. As I said, he didn't share the other aspects of his life off each other. If I felt really, really down and needed somebody to lean on, I always reached out to him. So, you know, it's so dangerous to say he was my world, but he was. And then God, in all his wisdom, just came and just said, okay, Beverly, this is who I'm going to take from you. So I have been robbed of everything, and because I know the kind of dad Warrick was, from day one, he got involved with everything. He lived for those children. He absolutely lived for those children. So him being taken away, I can't begin to imagine what it's done to them. As I say, in those days leading up to the shooting, they were with their dad. They were with their dad. And the backup person was whom? His mother. I was the one that was helping with meals, and, you know, the little one had a flu, mommy, go and get medication. That sort of thing that was happening in the background, which many people didn't know about Warrick. You know, he might have had many faults, but you cannot fault him for the kind of father and the son that he was.
The 26th will be the decision on bail. And as a family, what are your hopes on the 26th when the Johannesburg Magistrates Court makes its decision on bail?
Well, we are going to come out in our numbers, hopefully, those who are not working next week, Monday. I am agreeing very much with how the state presented their case, that the accused would present a danger if he is let out on bail. He would intimidate witnesses. And because I myself am from rural KZN, I know that he would be a flight risk, and you would never find him in the foothills of KwaZulu-Natal. He would probably disappear forever. So it would also be sending a strong message out to the co-conspirators that the law is not going to be lenient on murderers. Well, sorry, he's an alleged murderer, but the law will not be lenient on perpetrators of crime.